Hello and welcome back to Onto the Ball. I'm joined as always by Travis Morgan and James O.B. O'Brien. Um, if you're new to the page, please like and subscribe and watch all the videos, past and present. We're going to be here for the next 45 minutes to an hour talking about England, the World Cup, Brazil, Spain, Germany, all going out, Argentina being lucky enough to get through on penalties last night. And we're going to explain with my two experts here why it's coming home. Travis, OB, how he's doing? He's okay?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. The change in weather's killed me. To be fair, I'm Nesh at the best of times, so I've been wrapped up, scarf, all my skiing gear on. I've just gone all out, mate. I've prepared for it, so yeah, it's not been nice in terms of the change of the weather, but there's been plenty of action, which
And
I'm sure.
OB, you're off your deathbed to pretty much come on the poddy peer pressure, so we really appreciate that. You look well, you look better than me anyway. If I got close, I'm just out of the shower, my eyes are all bloodshot. You look better than me, so
Yeah, I've just felt rotten for a few days, and I know you've been ill for a while as well, Scott. So it's just get on with it, sort yourself out, and get over yourself, and just crack on, mate. The poddy's more important than anything.
exactly. As long as we're all well for in time for Christmas, that's all that counts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, England quarter final tonight against a very strong France side with the golden egg of a semi final against Portugal or who are they playing again?
Morocco.
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 Does it
Mm.
get any better than this? I'm not saying that Portugal, who are the favourites to beat Morocco, would be a gimme, but surely if we beat France, there's a massive chance we're going to get to a World Cup final. What are you
Yeah.
thinking now in terms of the pressure Southgate was under coming into the World Cup off the back of getting relegated from the Nations League? What are you thinking now, OB? You're the biggest England fan out of all of us. Let's come to you first. Has he won people over? Was it worrying for nothing about the Nations League, playing all fringe players? Have we got a strong 11 that can rival France and even beat them?
Wow, it's a big question. It's a big task. I think France are the world champions for a reason. They were poor in the Euros last year, but apart from that, I think they are probably on paper the best team in the competition. Probably the best team in the world, excluding the competition anyway. So include Brazil in that. Um, I think the route looks like it's going to be for Southgate. It's going to be France, Portugal, and Argentina, and that particular route is fraught with danger. None of them games are easy. I mean, I'm not writing Croatia off. I'm not writing Morocco off, but I think that they are three really tough games. So there's a lot of hurdles there still to get over. Do I think England are ready for it? I'm not sure. Remains to be seen. I think he's almost stumbled across the right formation and the right players because they did play very well against Senegal after the first 30 odd minutes. Um, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, for me, there's a chance it could happen. I would say we're not the favourites to beat France tonight. I'd say the French are likely to win the game, or a lot more likely than England are to win the game. I suppose it's about how you handle big moments, and that's what we've seen in this World Cup. So if it comes to penalties, have they got what it takes to see that through? And I heard them on the radio this morning talking about that, saying that he spent a lot of time planning down to that level of detail. So we'll see if that comes off.
How
It's
did
going to be really,
France?
really
Sorry, how
interesting.
did France get on in the Euros? You've caught me there. I'm
They
not a
got knocked
massive
out.
international fan, as you know. How did France
They
get on?
they got knocked out by Switzerland, didn't they? So I think they were 3-1 up. If you remember rightly, Pogba scored a goal and it went to 3-1. It looked like they were going to cruise through. Then they got knocked out. So they got pegged back. And it was like they'd lost concentration in the game. They aren't adverse to it, this group of French players. They are quite young. There's a lot of players in there who will have off games. So it isn't beyond the realms of possibility. Just looking at it, I think that the French have probably got a slightly stronger starting 11. But maybe England have got the stronger squad.
Well, we'll get to that soon. We're going to do a combined 11 soon. Trav, what's your thoughts on the game? Are you confident, or is Mbappe in France going to do as the odds suggest? OB's right, they are favourites. England are 2-1, France are around 7-5 best price. A lot of money coming in for the draw. I think it might be a little bit under 2-1 on a couple of bookies. I predicted 2-2 myself. I'll ask you for your predictions later, but what's your feelings going into the game?
Well, with this World Cup, I don't think anybody's blowing anybody away, are they? I think you look at this fixture between England and France, I think it's going to be very nip and tuck. I echo what AOB is saying. I do think France have just got slightly more, a little bit more quality in specific areas that will probably just see them over the line in the game, especially the MBAPPE factor, which we'll probably get into a little bit later on. But I think England can go into this game as slight underdogs, and they shouldn't be feeling any sort of pressure, because I think it's a case of we've been here before, haven't we? Like, how many times have England sort of been in this situation where they sort of cruise through group games, cruise through the last 16, there's a buzz, there's a hype, and everybody gets sort of excited, and rightly so, because if you can't get excited about being in the quarterfinal of a World Cup, when can you be excited apart from winning the competition? Like, you have to be excited supporting your country at this particular time. And this is the real acid test. I mean, I was listening to Simon Jordan on TalkSport. I don't always listen to TalkSport, but I do like a lot of his opinions. And he was sort of saying what I've been thinking for quite some time, like, countries can beat the teams that they're expected to beat, which England have done quite comfortably. And some of the other nations haven't actually done that. I don't think anybody won every single group game, which was interesting. So I think this is the real test now for Southgate. Can he then take this England squad to the next level and go and beat a France? Because I think that's where the belief's going to come. If they can manage to win tonight, everyone will start to believe that they can win it. Not only because they're so close, I think beating such a big nation is what he really needs to tick off at such a major stage in a tournament. So I think he can go into this game as slight underdogs, but I think he'll be quietly confident that if they play the cards right, they can get a positive result.
Yeah, absolutely. Southgate's in a bit of an impossible situation, isn't he? If he tinkers with it, changes formation to try and counteract the France threat, and it goes wrong, he'll be scrutinised big time. If he doesn't and it still goes wrong, it'll be the same outcome. Do any of you predict a change in formation, change in personnel to try and combat France? And at the same time, if he doesn't, would he be mad not to? Because France are, like you say, brilliant and the favourites to win the World Cup, although Argentina might be now.
I think he will probably go with the same formation. I think that I've reflected his to and fro on that. It really is one of them that it's going to be great after the event to say, oh, he got it wrong. Ultimately, he needs to be able to dictate the way England can play and the way England can break. I don't think there's anyone in that team who deserves to be dropped from the performance in the last game. And I don't think there's anybody who sticks out as a player that go, this guy's got we've got a better alternative to this guy on the bench. I think he'll go with the same team. And the indications are in the media, and if they tend to release it anyway, is that he is going to go with the same team, Scott. I mean, I suppose, once again, and I keep saying this, the only other option would be if he decided to utilise Trippier at left back instead of Shaw. I think is the only one that would get tinkered from a defensive positional perspective. But I think Shaw did enough in the last game to show that he's quite well drilled. He is a good player, as much as I hate saying that because he's a Man United player, but he is a good player. And he is somebody who has got a potential to have stunning games. He has been in these type of situations before. So I would say he'll probably go with the same team. And I think that will set out a stall to go, look, we're not changing for you. We're going to dictate to you, but it'll also give that edge and it'll put more emphasis on that battle that we've heard about all week between Walker and Mbappe on that side, because that is absolute key.
Yeah. Absolutely. The only change that might be Sterling, Trav. Sterling's flew back to Qatar, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. I think if you change him from a back four to a back five in such a critical time, I think two things. You've got to have a very good reason to do it. And the second thing is you've got to be good on the counter attack, or when the ball turns over and you receive possession, you've got to be confident that you can hurt the opposition. So what you're doing is you're taking one less player out of attack to put an extra defender in, because you're saying, right, we want to nullify Mbappe. But the trouble is, I just don't think England, if they do that, then give themselves the best opportunity to sort of retain the ball and stop attacks from coming. If you're going to take a midfielder out, I think the ball's just going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back, because what you're going to say is like, right, we're going to give possession up, we're going to play on the counter today, and I think you give the French too much of the ball, I think they're just going to hurt you eventually. Like, if you take example Mbappe, he's going to be playing against Walker and Maguire on that side. Okay, you put an extra defender in. Do you genuinely think he's going to be that phased if you're just going to put Dyer in there as an extra body? Like, he's gonna be able to take them on anyway. 2-3. I just think the best form of attack for England is to attack France tonight. I'm not saying you have to go gung ho, but we've got to pose some sort of threat in the game. We can't just invite pressure for 60, 70, 80 minutes and expect to come out on top and just soak up pressure, because I don't think England are any good at doing that. I think with the players that England have got can actually hurt France. If you look at some of the French games, although France have scored a lot of goals, they've conceded some chances in the game. And I think England, if they can get ahead in the game, it gives them a very, very good chance of winning. So I personally think he's got to stick with the back four. Whether he sticks with Maguire or how he does deal with the threat of Mbappe, because he has to look at it separately. Do you know what I mean? It is something that he has to cater for. Whether we play...
He won't though, will he? Like, Maguire and Stones are set now.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but what I mean is, like, because Mbappe generally starts games on the left and he drifts in a lot, does he play a wide player on the right? Like, obviously he's been playing with Saka, but does he switch Saka and play somebody a little bit more defensive on that side? I don't know what he's going to do. Does he cater especially for it, or does he just stick with what we've got and what we've been going with and what's been successful in the tournament? It's a really, really tricky one. Like you said, he's sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he changes it and it doesn't work, he's going to get criticism. If he doesn't change it, he's going to get criticism. So he might as well just stick to what he feels confident with and just go for it. And like you said, all you're looking for is maximum effort from the players, a tight unit, make themselves hard to beat, and on the counter attack, just try and get in behind and use that pace in the wide areas. That's what I think you're going to hurt France, because their fullbacks do bomb on.
But it works both ways, doesn't it? If he gets it right, he's a hero. We're wheeling out Atomic Kitten and we're going into party mode. The whole country will be up in arms, looking forward to semi-final. So, Trav, you reckon he should go full Jamie O'Hara and just give them something to worry about?
Yeah,
I agree with. If you're going to win a World Cup, you've got to be on the front foot and giving the other teams something to worry about, rather than trying to play a game of chess and fluke your way to the final.
I agree with that up to a point, but you've also got to be a little bit clever in games, and it's game management. You look at the Croatians, right? The reason that they're there isn't based on their football ability, although there is plenty of football ability in that team. It's organisation, discipline, and knowing what they need to do for every possible scenario and managing a game through and putting pressure on other teams. Now, I don't think the English team as a whole has got that mentality. I don't think we're aged enough. I don't think, with the possible exception of Henderson and Kane, we're particularly experienced enough to be able to do that. So if you're not going to play that, you've got to go out and cause them problems. I think, and my view is, and I don't know about you guys, is Phil Foden's absolutely key if he plays tonight. This could be a massive breakout game for Foden in particular, simply because it's the type of game where if he turns up and has a stunning game, I think he wins it. And it's similar to the MBAPPE situation on the other side of the park. If he has a brilliant Phil Foden type level of performance that we've seen in the Premier League, and I'm thinking about games that stick out, like the one where he played at Anfield behind closed doors, where he blew a really good team apart. I think it could be a Phil Foden game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Obi. I'm not an international ball expert. Trav knows quite a lot, watches a lot, plays FIFA a lot, knows a lot of players, but I always look at a player, if they're in a successful team, and that's obviously Phil Foden, who's supposedly the best team in the world, favourites to win the league, and they will win the league, favourites to win the Champions League. If you've got a player playing like that, he is going to be more of a threat, in my opinion, and more worthy of a place than, say, someone you've got. I've mentioned it about the Brazil squad, yeah? You've got players in the Brazil squad or in the Brazil team who are ridiculed. Richarlison, he's not even getting in a fully fit Spurs squad. Spurs team. You got Fred, who's ridiculed at Man United. They're playing for, so I put a lot of emphasis on that. So again, following on from what OB's saying, I'm a massive Phil Foden fan. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. Use these players that are at the absolute top of their game. But of course, it works both ways. You've got Maguire at centre back, who's in no form at all. Jordan Henderson was in no form at all going into this tournament. I even agreed that he was lucky to make the squad. And now I've been his biggest fan in the last 4 years, calling him Jordan Pirlo after the great Andrea Pirlo. His form has been dreadful this season, mainly due to injuries. He's been stop-start, and now all of a sudden he's had a couple of good games. He's looked at as the golden boy. He's back in form, back in favour. So there's so many angles to look from. But yeah, I hope that Phil Foden plays. But if he does, who doesn't? Does that mean Sterling's not coming back in? So it's Foden on the right, Saka on the left.
Yeah, it'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. It will happen. It'll stick with Foden. For me, there's no justification bringing Sterling back in now. I thought Foden played well against Senegal. And on top of that, I think he's probably he's a better player than Sterling is at this point in his career. And I think that all adds up to Foden starts the game. What is interesting about England is they've got lots of really good options off the bench. So Rashford obviously done well in the game against Wales. They've got Sterling who can come off and cause some damage. And they've got players who can come in and the level won't drop and they'll bring something new. And that is where England have almost got to, I think, take the game by the scruff of the neck, do what they've got to do, and then bring on these players and almost renew what we're doing again and just keep going at France. Because I do think the England squad is probably as strong, if not stronger, than the French squad. I don't think the starting 11 necessarily is. But I think if you can make it a squad game on 60-odd minutes when it's still 0-0 or we're in a narrow lead.
Bringing on or something like that. Or...
Yeah, absolutely. And stretch the game at that point. And I think somewhere in Southgate's psyche, he'll be thinking that as well. And maybe that might mean, given that Southgate has been defensive at points in the past, that he tries to keep it tight for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to bring us on nicely to the combined 11. Sorry, Trav, you carry on, mate. I'm just trying to position it on the screen. I was going to cover Obi's face with it because he thinks he doesn't look very well, but I'm struggling to get it on, so it might just be covering Trav's face, actually, so the viewers can see it. Sorry, Trav, carry on.
No, what I was saying is I think another player that the English really need to focus on besides MBAPPE is Griezmann, and I think he's gone under the radar quite a lot. But he's been very instrumental in what the French are sort of doing in terms of the way they're playing, because he's dropped a lot deeper than he previously has in other tournaments. He's played a lot higher in other tournaments, more or less a striker or just as a second striker, sometimes even as a wide forward. But he's more or less playing as a central midfield player for France and sort of picking the ball up deep and being sort of like the playmaker. But then his timing of his runs, like he's getting into the box really late, he's so hard to pick up. And like he's very, very dangerous. So I think that's why I do think England will stick with the three in midfield and just sort of try and match them in that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how the French to see how the English sort of deal with Griezmann as well. But all the space comes down France's left-hand side because MBAPPE likes to come in. That leaves space for Theo Hernandez to overlap. And if you look at the games, he overlaps a hell of a lot in matches and gets round. So I think England, if they're going to exploit any sort of space, it's going to come down France's left-hand side from an offensive point of view as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, man.
Shutting the dog up. Right, Trav. I probably should have started this combined 11 before you started talking, because what I've done is I've chose some players while I was waiting for you lads to log on that I think are shoehorned. It's not shoehorned. They're just a shoe-in. That's it. And now that you've mentioned Griezmann and give them words, it might be a shoe-in for him. But again, who's keeping him out? I'm thinking maybe Foden. Like we're all waxing lyrical about Foden.
If we're basing it on what we've seen so far, I'd probably say Griezmann's been one of the players of the tournament. From what I've seen, but like I said, you've got Bellingham. Like I'd even put Jordan Henderson ahead of Rice at the moment in terms of performance levels. To be fair, I genuinely would.
I know you've said you're ill, but are you feeling all right?
I
just heard that.
I think as well. It's an interesting thing that I think that people are hearing, and it's weird because it's a World Cup and we're hearing a lot of what the players are saying on the pitch because of the way the stadiums are. I think people are starting to appreciate that Henderson is literally a conductor on the pitch. He's an extension of the manager, and it's what a lot of Liverpool fans have known for a long time. But when you actually see it, you realise how influential he is. And when he's playing well and when the team's playing well, it's so important. He's such an important player in that kind of position. He's almost like grown into that over the last few seasons at Liverpool, where he's becoming more and more vocal. And he really is. He's almost an extension of the manager. And
right, let me stop you there. I feel like I need to. Right. I need to delete some players out. So basically, what I've done is I've started the 11 with players that I thought would be a shoe-in, so we don't waste any time. I put Varane in Upamecano at centre back. Yeah, both in agreement. They are both massive upgrades on Stones and Maguire. I put
there's a bit of an argument for Stones, but no, not enough to get in.
Not over those two.
Yeah, not enough for us to debate. Mbappe on the left. And I put Kane up top ahead of Giroud, which seems a bit harsh because Giroud has just become the France all-time top goal scorer, but Kane is over Giroud all day long. You agree?
Yeah.
And then in midfield, I put Rice and Bellingham purely because I rate them so highly, and I'm thinking of Rabiot and Tchouaméni. Camavinga doesn't even get in ahead of Tchouaméni. Is that up for debate?
I would say that Bellingham is a definite. Rice.
Shall I take Rice out and we can debate it then?
Rice is a tough one because he has been good, but like you said, I think Henderson and Griezmann have been better than him personally. But it could go either way. It's a tight one. It is a tight one. Rice has been good. Do you know what I mean? It could go. That could go anyway.
Listen, Travis, me and OB are not ever gonna stop you from putting Henderson in a combined 11 with France. So you just say the words, brother, and we're putting him in.
Henderson's even surprised me, mate. He's been top draw since he's come into that team. Like Obi said, he's really led this England team. He's
right. Obi, is he in? Shall I put him in?
Yeah, he's in.
Let's go. Henderson and Bellingham centre mid.
If we're basing it on this tournament, absolutely right. And I think Trav's right about Griezmann as well. If you're basing it on this tournament, he's quality.
I'm loving it. Right, let's go from keeper at the back then.
Well, that's not a debate, is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a Hugo Lloris fan at all, but Jordan Pickford is the worst of the three keepers in the England squad.
What worries me about this evening is I'm still got concerns around Pickford, around Maguire, and around Stones because I think they've all got big mistakes in them. Yeah. And based on that alone, but if you're going on this tournament so far, both of them keepers have been pretty decent, I think, and it's hard to choose between them. But I would put Lloris in there based on that. My own personal opinion, I think he's a much superior goalkeeper.
Trav?
Yeah, Lloris for me.
Yeah, that's three all in agreement. Right back. What we thinking? We've got Kyle Walker and Jules Koundé has been playing at right back for France, which he's a centre back by trade, isn't he?
Yeah, they did play Benjamin Pavard, but I don't know. Did he get injured in the first game or something? Because like you said,
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did.
And Koundé's not naturally a right back. He's done okay there, but for me, I'm picking Walker ahead of him at right back for sure.
Walker's a world class right back. I mean, the very fact that we're talking about him being able to cope with one of the two players of the tournament says to me that he needs to be in there.
No, that's good for me. It falls nicely in the point I was making earlier that Kyle Walker's the right back in supposedly one of the best teams in the world, so he must be at the absolute peak of his game, and he is in. Just to give it a quick update on the team so far, then we've got 3 spots left, so that's 8 players selected, 4 on each England and France.
Okay.
So it's looking tight. So left back, yeah, what are we saying? Are we saying Luke Shaw, or is it Hernandez plays there? But is that the other Hernandez, the main Hernandez got injured?
Lucas Hernandez, yeah, he snapped his cruciate. He's out for the season.
So now it's Theo Hernandez. Are they brothers?
Yeah,
yeah, they're brothers, yeah.
Mad.
I really rate Theo Hernandez. He bombs on a lot. I think Trav talked on that at the earlier on, but I really rate him. I'm not a massive Luke Shaw fan.
So much so that you'd have started Trippier over Shaw at left back, Obi.
Exactly, and that kind of gives you an idea of what I think may happen. I don't necessarily think Shaw has done anything particularly wrong in this World Cup, though. In fairness to him,
yeah.
But I would have Hernandez over him personally. I don't know what you think.
Look, there's two top teams here. Do you know what I mean? So it is going to be hard to pick pretty much every
Shaw's just so inconsistent. Like, he's either 9 out of 10 or he's 4 out of 10. He's never like 7 out of 10 every week. That's the thing. A top Luke Shaw is quality, but then an abysmal Luke Shaw just lets you down so much. Like, switches off, track. And like you said, tonight he could quite easily make a couple of mistakes or not track his runner, and you can go out of the tournament. Like, he's done that so many times in a United shirt. I've seen it week in, week out at United, and he's one of those players you just can't always rely on him. So I think Theo nicks that one for me personally.
Well, this might be telling, lads, because at the business end of a tournament, leagues and tournaments like this are won on a strong defence. Out of the back 5, we've only got 1 England player in there, which is Kyle Walker. So this could be telling. Okay, so the midfield we've agreed is Henderson, unbelievably, but gladly, and Bellingham. Then we've got MBAPPE on the left, Kane up top. So then we've just got the 2 supporting players in the 3 behind Kane. Who are we going for? There's obviously a lot of players.
So we said Griezmann, didn't we?
There's Griezmann, there's Dembele, there's Foden, Saka, Sterling.
I don't think Sterling.
Yeah, I don't think Sterling. I think Foden and Griezmann are the 2 that stand out for me there.
Yeah.
There's an argument for Saka as well, because he's been good. But yeah, I think Griezmann definitely, and then it's between Foden and Saka for me. I can't choose.
Do you not think Dembele's a bit unlucky to miss out? Because we're just talking about this tournament, and I know I don't watch too much international or European ball, but he's been for me as good as MBAPPE. Maybe not bringing the goals like MBAPPE, but
mate, if he stayed fit, he was at Dortmund at first and went to Barcelona. He just never stays fit, but a fit Dembele is unbelievable. 2-footed, pace, power, goals, assists. He's literally got the lot. He just never stays fit. And this is the first tournament where he's actually been fit. So he's displayed to everyone how good he is. And like you said, he's been unbelievable this tournament. But like you said, in terms of like impact, Foden, Saka, between them 2, it's like splitting hairs. That's so tough, I think. I really do. I think both players are unbelievable for their age.
I suppose, Travis, you've got to think of it, and this is where I've landed on Foden, is that for me, at an absolute top-end level, how high do I think Foden's ceiling is and how high do I think Saka's ceiling is? I've just got Foden in there because I think Foden could go on to be one of the best players in the world if he isn't approaching that bracket now, whereas with Saka, I think he's just underneath that, and I think that's where I've got to.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Right. The team is done. That was a little bit easier than I thought it might have been. So we've got Lloris in goals, Varane in Upamecano centre backs, Hernandez left back, Walker right back, Henderson and Bellingham anchoring that midfield with a frightening front 4 of Foden, Griezmann, MBAPPE and Kane. So it's 6 to France and 5 to England. Yeah. Does that build the confidence heading into tonight, thinking we've got players that can make it a combined 11 that's pretty much 50-50?
Definitely. I think tonight's going to be a really, really tight game. I really do. I think both sides equally have got a chance of making it through for different reasons. Obviously, Mbappe is the standout player on the pitch, and England are going to have to keep him quiet if they want to stand a chance of getting through. But you just never know what's going to happen in this tournament. It's been so many crazy results, crazy performances, goals in the last minute, so much extra time. It's been full of incidents. It's made for a great tournament. It really has. Like, you can't say you haven't enjoyed watching it. But yeah, I think it's going to be tight. Like Obi said earlier, I think France are probably going to nick it, but I would not be surprised if England went through tonight. I really wouldn't.
Could be party time tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well we've got to look at what happened in yesterday's games, with the Brazil game and the Argentina game, and how much emotion was going on in them moments. And it's about being calm in the moments. You know, the big moments, we get a chance towards the end of the game, or if they get a chance towards the end of the game, what's going to happen in them big moments is the keeper's going to be able to do something. That just slightly bothers me. Just slightly bothers me. If one of our defenders going to make a mistake at the wrong moment, I've got this horrible feeling that we're just going to fall a little bit short defensively. Not necessarily going forward, because I think we've got the ability to score the goals, but I think we might just slip up defensively at a crucial moment, and that really, really, really bothers me.
Well, we've called it with our combined 11, haven't we? We've only got one England defender in that back five, including the keeper. Right, I've already nailed my flag to the mast. 2-2 I'm going for. What are you two going for? And talk with your head, not your heart.
All right. I'm going to go 2-1 France.
Is that that's a repeat of the Euro 2004? Remember the two late France goals, 2-1 to France. OB?
I was going to say 2-1 France, but I don't want to copy it. So
you want to mix it up?
No.
Mate. You can copy me, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3-2 France.
So goals galore is definitely going to be goals galore.
Yeah. I think both defences will be under a lot of pressure at certain points of the game. I think we'll see some really good finishing. And I think the game might go wild in little 10-minute periods where it goes a bit to and fro, and then it'll calm down and it'll go again. But I think France have just got a little bit more quality than us, and I hope I'm wrong. Really hope I'm wrong.
I think the first goal. I know it's a cliche, but the first goal.
It sending shudders down my spine. Maguire against Mbappe in that left channel, just like obviously just on the counter attack when Walker's just naturally just supporting the attack and just leaves a little bit of space, and Pingy just runs into that channel. I just worry about that battle. He might switch them. He might actually switch Maguire to the left next to Shaw and play Stones right next to
I thought Maguire does play in the left. So
yeah. He does most of the time. Yeah. At United we switch Maguire to the right, but I think he might play on the left with Shaw and they play Stones outside for that.
The other important person who hasn't been mentioned an awful lot, but is important in the system and managing Mbappe is going to be Rice. Exactly for the point that you touched upon, Trav, because ultimately when we've got the ball, Rice is going to have to be in the right position to be able to cover any Walker jaunt up the park and cover it very quickly. So I think Rice's game is going to be really important today. And if England do well in the game, Rice will have had a good game. There's absolutely no doubt about it, because his position is that more defensive one of the three, and that's the role that Southgate's appointed to him. And his nous that he's got defensively is going to be important in managing Mbappe. And to be fair, Dembele on the other side, and making sure that they're handing people over to at the right moment. They know what they're doing in transition. We're making the right decisions. I think that's so important, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think it's going to be a cagey first 20, and then I think it's going to go wild. I really do.
That's it. England versus France. Let's touch on a couple of the other teams. Brazil. dancing silly dances. I don't want to sound like I'm taking words out of Roy Keane's mouth, the great Roy Keane, but dancing silly dances with their manager against South Korea in the last 16. Was that a sign of arrogance? Should you be saving them silly dances when you're 3-0 up in the World Cup final? And more importantly than that, how impressed are you two with my punditry that I said the Brazil squad wasn't all that, and the likes of Fred and Paqueta and Richarlison are getting nowhere near the England team? So why couldn't we go on and beat them?
I think they'll be kicking themselves. If you look at the game, I know it took them till extra time to score, but I said even before the Korea game, they've had a lot of chances in games and not taken them. And yesterday when they went 1-0 up, if you looked at the equaliser, two things. The first one was that was Croatia's first shot on target in the whole game. The second thing is they've got about 3 defenders halfway up the pitch on the counter-attack in about the 117th minute. The game's so stretched. And I'm just like, I think their culture doesn't sort of allow them to see games out. They just don't do it. They've never done it. Do you know what I mean? They've either just blitzed teams, or like even when it's 1-0, they've sort of half got away with it. And normally, 9 times out of 10, they do get away with that and they go through in extra time yesterday. But it was a sucker punch, and I think it took the wind out of their sails, and it was a huge blow for them. And I think when they reflect on it, they'll be kicking themselves that they didn't go through, because I did fancy them to win the whole thing for a start, and I think they would have beat Argentina as well. But it would have been a tougher game, Argentina, but I just think they'll be looking at that really, really kicking themselves in terms of that result, because I weren't saying they were blowing teams away, but they were having a lot of chances, not winning games. They were starting to get sort of in their groove. But like you said, Croatia, there are no pushovers, even from like Euro 96 in the like Boban days and stuff like that. They were going far in tournaments, causing upsets, and you can never ever count Croatia out at any stage in a game. So testament to them, they just keep going.
Is that arrogance that I mentioned though? And OB mentioned game management. Southgate's got to earn his corn, and so was that just a complete lack of game management, having 3 defenders up the park in the 117th minute, and that arrogance? Couldn't wait to do the silly dance.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of arrogance. Also, they had a lot of. I noticed this in the earlier games, and I thought to myself, well, they're doing the business anyway. It doesn't really matter. But a lot of the players are a bit samey, as in they play the same type of football when there was nobody to bring off the bench to do something completely different. So they're bringing on Anthony for Rafinha, and then it felt a little bit samey in a lot of what they were doing at points, and it was like bring on someone. Yeah, and I think Croatia picked up on that quite quickly. And don't get me wrong, Croatia rode the luck at little moments in the game, but they probably knew they would have to do that to get to where they wanted to be, and they just took them deep. And they just, at the right moment, they applied pressure, got a little bit of luck with a deflection, and once it went to penalties, I think we all knew there was only going to be one winner there. I think the mentality monsters. They used to talk about Liverpool in that way. But ultimately, I think Croatia have got a real strong mentality, and they're not going to win the tournament on player for player skill. They're going to win it on absolute organisation and knowing what they're good at, and managing that through. And
Dejan Lovren.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, he never put a foot wrong. And it's mad that these guys can come in and play to that level for the country at points. And he hasn't made a mistake, has he?
But again, I haven't even mentioned Rafinha. Would you rather have Leeds Rafinha or Foden of Man City? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Rafinha might be at Barca now, but he's still Leeds Rafinha. So these players, I was looking at it thinking, just because they put on this yellow jersey, it doesn't give them this coat of invincibility, and all of a sudden they're different players. They're still these players that wouldn't get into a top 4 side in the Premier League, wouldn't get in the England side. And I thought, I spot something here, and I'm so glad I was right.
I think culture and like history has a lot to do with like the way teams play and how teams approach tournament. And there's like this subconscious pressure that can come onto a team. So, for example, Brazil, we might not see it here in the media and in the punditry and stuff, but back home in Brazil and all the journalists and stuff, they'll be putting immense pressure on how Brazil, the style in the way they sort of approach a tournament, play in a tournament, win a tournament. So them being 1-0 up, 117th minute, a couple of minutes away from a semi-final with 3 defenders over the halfway line, that's so normal to them. Do you know what I mean? Because with Lucio Cafu and Roberto Carlos doing it, winning World Cups, that's what they're used to. So it's like, I'm not saying, I think it is poor game management because football sort of moves on. Do you know what I mean? So from a Brazilian coaching perspective, to win tournaments this day and age, you do have to have sort of both sides. He should have been saying, right, let's shut up shop. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to keep the ball for 2 minutes. But like you said, sometimes it's not in your culture and you can get caught cold. Like I said, on another day, they could have gone through quite easily yesterday. And it just come back to bite them, and it really did haunt them. And you could see they were hurt because, like you said, I think they thought 117th minute the game was done. Croatia didn't have a shot all game. Next minute they're out, they're on the plane, and that's what can happen. It's just so fine-lined and fickle.
Absolutely, it's knockout football, team, isn't it?
Yeah, every team needs a Dunga. So you remember what Dunga did for Brazil, and it's really, really important. And if you have a load of players going to charge up the park, you need someone who can control it and someone who can manage it, someone who can foul the guy. I mean, that was what I was thinking was you could see that there was going to be a dangerous attack at that point of the game. Bring the guy down. You know what I mean? Take that foul. Take the yellow card. Even if it's a red, take the red. Because there was a whole world of bad stuff going on there, and they let it happen. And the people and the guys with the tears in their eyes, like Charleston, Neymar, their mentality isn't as strong as some of these other guys who are playing for Croatia, and I would say some of the players in the other teams. And ultimately, they fell short because of their mentality, their behaviour, and the fact that they bought into their own hype.
Yeah. What about Netherlands-Argentina? I only watched extra time and the penalties, and OB, from a Liverpool point of view, Virgil van Dijk is going to be heartbroken with his penalty. He tried that old one-step run-up and blast it same side as he went in the Carabao Cup final. This time it didn't come off. I bet he wishes he could take that again with a bit more poise, and it was heartbreaking. I know you've got a bet on Argentina, but obviously the neutrals wanted the Netherlands to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I put money on the Argentinians after they lost to Saudi Arabia. I got a free £10 bet and put it on because it was 17-2. So I'm quite chuffed with myself about that. Probably as chuffed as you are. Probably as chuffed as you are that Brazil went out and you called it, Scott. But I do think in this Argentina team, I thought they let it slip a little bit last night. They dominated the game. They shouldn't have allowed what happened to happen. It was really interesting to see that when push comes to shove, the way the Dutch thought they were going to get back into the game was going route one football. After all we get told about the Dutch style and everything else, pumping the ball into the box and bringing on the tallest guys that you've got in the squad was the way they went, and it paid off. I thought the free kick was absolutely ingenious. It was brilliant. It was a marvellous thing to see.
Really well.
But when it went to penalties, it's almost like the difference between Argentina and Brazil was Argentina decided they weren't losing that, and they put their best player to take the first penalty. Neymar was going to take penalty number 5. It never got to it. It was like, we're going to go hard from the start, and it's like, just get your best guy to take your opening penalties and worry about it after that. And I think that lesson is there for everybody to see, and let's hope we don't see anything mad happen tonight.
Bring on the madness, I say.
Can't go to penalties because England are toast. England are awful at penalties in tournaments. We all know that. Like, it cannot go to penalties tonight because it will just be crumble stations again. England generally are just poor at penalties. They would have been practicing them, obviously, but like you said, it's just.
But so much counts on the goalkeeper as well. I remember Donnarumma for Italy in the Euro final. He looked humongous in that goal. Emi Martinez last night, he just looked like
so aggressive, weren't he?
So aggressive, and you just thought there's
one.
And
the Croatian lad as well. The Croatian lad earlier in the day, I think he plays for Zagreb, and he's the keeper for Zagreb. He doesn't play outside of the country, and he looked like he was never going to get beaten.
Yeah.
He really did. He just looked so confident. He knew what he needed to do, and he just nailed it. And it is all about your goalkeeper and how they feel at the moment. You know what I mean? In the moment, and and that's where I've got a little bit of a concern. And I know Pickford has been known to save the odd penalty.
I was going to say maybe that would be good for us because Pickford's a little arsehole. But did you see the story about the Dutch keeper?
No.
He's pretty much been a sub goalkeeper all his career until this season. He went on a free transfer to Heerenveen, I think it is.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he just found this form. He's the Dutch #1, and he looked really good last night.
He did.
You about Manuel Neuer?
Yeah, to see that.
Yeah, he broke his leg skiing after the tournament. He's out for the season, so can't be too happy with that. Best please. That was interesting news. But what are you doing skiing mid-season? I don't know.
Crazy. Right, lads. Portugal's kicking off. So I'm going to go and get a nice cup of tea and watch that because Trav's been drinking his tea and it made me regret not bringing one in.
Honey and ginger tea.
Is that because you're still ill or is that a health thing? Or
good for the sinuses, mate.
Nice.
Nice.
Right, lads.
I tell you what, just quickly on the back of that, the Portuguese will probably do a lot better because obviously Ronaldo, Ronaldo, you become a better team, don't you?
Yeah.
Ronaldo's sister's Instagram stories are going to be on flames. She's going to be going mad, insane.
Is he not playing today either?
No, he's on the bench again.
Yeah,
that's how you improve your team, don't you? You bench him.
That's it. He's found his place again, mate.
Poor Cristiano. Right, lads. Cheers for your time. Thanks for getting off your deathbed, OB. Really appreciate it. It's only under 2 weeks now until the Premier League's back. So we're going to be having more videos, more frequent, getting back on our bread and butter, which is Man United and Liverpool, Premier League, Champions League. I can't wait. But no, this World Cup's been ace. We've been keeping the page, the channel ticking over with a video a week. So we'll end on that. It's coming home. Come on, England. And we'll see you in the next one. Trav, OB, thanks a lot.
Cheers.
See you later.